Welcome back 2020 LCK Summer Split. It was Dynamic versus Afreeca game number 1. Dynamics are continuing their winning streak at here Low Park. They're on a 7-game winning streak so far, undefeated. Today's winner will come out on top of LCK standings, and Dynamics was the one to go one step closer to the result. Afreeca once again opened their Aatrox up against Dynamics, and they traded Ezreal and Aphelios. They were looking for that Ezreal or Aphelios ending. They were really smart going into that draft fight, but at the same time, Dynamics' smart rotation outclassed that of Afreeca Freecs. So we're gonna focus on how Dynamics pulled off this kind of very smart and intelligent rotation. That first dragon was the start of everything. With this bot lane priority and vertical jungling, Dynamics was able to start the dragon. Ezreal was trying to push this wave and return to base and TP back. But while they were starting this dragon, Dynamics actually made Aphelios to return to base early. Well, Ezreal and Yuumi tried to take a safe recall to the base, but Aphelios returned to lane faster than they anticipated. And once again, Ezreal's recall got interrupted by Nautilus, so they made him to waste a lot of time. So this is where the huge denial of the bot lane started, and Analyst will be so happy to see this wave freeze. With no turret dive pressure, Dynamics bot duo was having a really good time and very comfortable time. And the later jungle path also had a huge impact on the result of this game. So after that recall, Trundle was invading the enemy blue buff, and Graves was also trying to counter jungle Trundle. So because of this location of Trundle, Ezreal felt the pressure of turret dive, so he had to walk down their lane instead of using his TP. And they expected that Trundle will come for a turret dive, but instead Trundle rushes to topside to cover against Graves. Afreeca players, they thought that indeed Trundle will be at bot side, so they started to open a 2v1 fight, but the truth was it was 2v2. Ezreal was already so behind in CS and XP, and Dynamics managed to have an even fight on the top side, so we can say that Dynamics was in a huge lead in the very early phase of the game. And with this huge gap from the AD carry players, the game was pretty much over right there. So in short, Dynamics won the jungler mind game, and they were able to snowball it throughout the game. Even though Afreeca managed to get some of the winning team fights, Dynamics was strong enough to hold on and explode the enemy nexus. Now let's check out the POG of today's game.
킬 자체가 아주 많이 발생해서 이건 누구다라고 딱 느껴지는 그런 이름은 아니긴 했는데
덕담 선수
덕담 on Aphelios.
사실 여기에 저희가 뭐
덕담 got his first POG of the split in his first season in LCK.
막 강타 싸움 치열한 가운데서 본인이 드래곤 바론 막
Well, Dokdam was the one that actually won the smite fight between the junglers during the Baron try, and also Dokdam was strong enough to zone out all 5 players on the Afreeca side. So while 3 of the Dynamics players were on Keen, Dokdam was just pushing out the rest of the Afreeca players by himself. So there are some of the risky players that pull off some of the risky plays on Aphelios, even though one is super fast, but Dokdam was so consistent throughout the game. Afreeca tried really hard to go to the backline and melt down Aphelios, but it didn't work right. Dokdam picking up 7 votes out of 12. He closed out the series on their side. Then let's check out whether Dynamics will get a series win today, or will Afreeca turn the game around.
Thank you very much, Ji-sun, for your analyst desk translation. Once again, Guga was 100% robbed. I don't know. I mean, Dokdam, I think his biggest achievement in that... No, that's not true. He played well, but Guga was just so good. Hitting hook after hook, in control of that bottom lane. Interrupting the back of Mystic as well was absolutely huge.
Yeah.
In that moment.
The reasons they gave for Dokdam's MVP was that he won a smite fight and he was able to zone people with Calibrum. I mean, that's Aphelios, not Dokdam, right? He had good positioning, but it didn't really feel to me like he was
lost a team fight because of bad positioning, actually.
Yeah. So I don't see it, but there was one other, well, actually the other vote for the English/Chinese vote. I'm not sure exactly who that is. I guess a Chinese analyst.
I like to think
probably.
that it's Vincent from the LPL broadcast because
probably
he's my mate.
Yeah, it must be him.
Yeah.
And then there was one other savant on the Korean broadcast. We're never going to know who it is, but maybe we can ask in the break. But either way, it kind of was. It was one of those games where it wasn't really a player of the game pop-off moment. It was kind of like a team as a whole played really well together. Like,
yeah.
I think the analyst desk did a really good job of highlighting the rotations and the macro plays that Team Dynamics did to allow the bot lane to win so hard and to allow, to stop counter ganks and stuff like that. The one play with the Trundle after going in for the blue was very important. So definitely do feel like as a team, Team Dynamics deserved to win that one. Yep. And here we go. We're going into game 2. As Afreeca say, well, Syndra's not very good. We don't want to see that pick anymore. Let's ban it ourselves.
They don't like champions that start with S, apparently. Set also going to be taken away. The Varus ban was instantaneous, as it should be. On red side, first ban every single time around. They are once again going to ban the Twisted Fate away from Fly. Fly is certainly a mastery player and has obviously been putting in a lot of time on the TF. Also was historically a TF player. Of course, all of our players that have been in the LCK for a long time, certainly known for Twisted Fate play, as Afreeca will take away the Trundle. First pick here for Spirit. And let's see what Dynamics do to counteract that. And Karma is still left up. Oh my god.
Karma Aphelios, perhaps?
You go Karma Aphelios. There's actually a lot that you could do here in the second pick, though.
Yeah, it depends on what they prioritize in terms of, do they want to take away the Aphelios? Is that a really high prioritization? I mean, getting Karma here is really great. I think for the team as a whole, we talked about how that's great. They're going to pick up Ezreal here, which, again, you were talking about they do like the Ezreal versus Aphelios lane, just 80 carry versus 80 carry. But now you're giving Afreeca the draft that you just won with, and I don't really like that idea, to be honest with you, Max.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan either. In fact, Afreeca have just taken 3 of the champions they just lost to.
Yeah.
But Dynamics, this is the Ultra Flex. This is what you do. You try and run it back with your enemy's comp after you just destroyed them playing the same comp. The one big difference is Karma. And Karma is... there's a saying for it. I'm not going to repeat it on the broadcast, but they are going for the serious salty run back with the Graves being locked in for Beyond this time. This is a champion that really does feel like a Beyond style champion. Beyond likes to get into the enemy jungle, get around and really ruin some things. But let's see what happens in the second half of the draft as the Wukong going to be taken away from Keen.
Yeah, I feel like this kind of happens because both teams have a very good understanding of like which champions are really high tier and really strong right now and what kind of matchups you want. Because Afreeca responded in similar fashion. They ended up with a slightly worse draft we were talking about, and now Dynamics responded in a very similar fashion, except this time they get the Karma. The Yuumi, though, did so much work for Afreeca in game number 1, it just kind of didn't matter because the Aphelios was too strong. So I'm curious to see how Dynamics are going to use their last couple of picks to make a different outcome happen from game number 1, because there are ways. You know, we just saw Dynamics composition crush hard in game number 1, but doesn't have to look exactly like that when it comes down to the play. And also, we do have a couple of picks left over here. So, Corki has Zero taken away.
Really
Although,
interesting.
again, I think Kuzan might just play Karma.
Yeah, okay. Kuzan or Rich on their famous Lucian in that mid lane. I absolutely love this because now you're still triflexing both Karma and Lucian in this moment. You actually don't know where a lot of these things are going. I mean, I guess Lucian is more of a dual flex because the Ezreal's already locked in, but still, everything is well and truly up in the air. And now Keen and Fly both going to be blind picking into their respective solo lanes. This is the Keen Mordekaiser. He destroyed on this champion, was actually very, very good last time we saw it. And my god, this is a burly composition if this Galio does come in. And there it is. So now, let's see where we're putting all the pieces. I could imagine mid Lucian's probably feeling like a really good idea right now because you crush the Galio in the early stages of the game. So it might just be a Mordekaiser-style counter pick as, no, it's not. That is going to be the Leona locked in for the Leona-Ezreal combination. And we've got the top lane Lucian out of Rich. I actually really like this because Lucian also does very well into the Mordekaiser.
Yeah, the Lucian was good into either solo lane, and Kuzan is great onto the Karma, so you see that coming in there. They definitely had a decision to flex it and maybe throw the Karma down bottom side to provide a little bit of support against the melee support that Nautilus, that Ben is running in the Nautilus here on the left side. I'm not really sure about this Leona. I mean, we saw a little bit of this in MSC where Lumao was just spamming the Leona and had a lot of trouble with these tanky compositions where it's great against Aphelios if you can catch Aphelios, but we've all seen how difficult that is, especially with 4 tanky members in front of you. And even Keen can, you know, maybe lock you down. He can peel really well for the Aphelios, and then all of a sudden Leona's gone. I don't know. I feel like Afreeca kind of got the better of this one, Atlas.
And absolutely, as far as subjugation is concerned, Leona is probably one of the best subjugate targets in the game. You just wait for her to press W, and you get about a bajillion stats. I think that's the official number for the amount of stats that you get. That being said, this is a mid-game composition to be reckoned with in a lot of ways, and the lane kingdom possibilities certainly are going to be there out of Team Dynamics. So definitely a different style of play, and if they can keep up their macro performance and add a little bit more aggression, this could be a Dynamics 2-0. But I think if Afreeca are going to win, it's definitely with this comp rather than their last one.
Yeah, definitely does feel that way. At least Rich is going to do the right thing. He's going to pick up the cull early up against the melee in the top lane and try to get very far ahead. Now, we saw Deft playing Lucian yesterday, and I remember in that draft, it was first picked by DRX, and we were groaning over it. We're like, oh, man, I don't know about this. DRX might have just punted the draft, but
it's the bullet hell.
What eventually happened was they had Yuumi, they had so much support for the Lucian, and they were against a composition that, you know, Gen G eventually drafted that were coming directly into them. So the Lucian is great at skating around all those CC tanks and just chunking them down, and also repositioning to get into a backline if you have that access against what he's going against. I mean, the lane is going to be good, but eventually once these people get really tanky, I'm not sure how much work he's going to be able to do, because he might just be zoned away or just essentially shut down. As Rich actually gets the better of that one.
Yeah, but he does have to take Relentless Pursuit instead of Piercing Light. I'm so used to saying Piercing Darkness now that I confuse myself with that ability. Oh, dang it, Santa. That's okay. Just will mean that he is not going to be able to shove the wave as quickly in the early stages, which is exactly what Lucian likes to do. Put on as much pressure as possible in the top lane. If you guys were watching MSC, you may have looked at this Lucian top and been like, yeah, this is not what we want to see ever.
Yeah, no.
It was just absolutely awful here in the LCK as well. Lucian top 100% has been a trap every single game. If you watched Challenger's career last season, you would have the opposite impression. This is a champion that, you know, Rich was considered a 2-trick. If he was on Lucian or Aatrox, he was considered just godlike. So you can see the zoning has began. but Keen's not too worried about it because, of course, all of his minions are just going to crash towards him. So, Rich, it is 2 CS to 11, but that will be alleviated pretty soon, as Beyond is going to skirt past the vision towards this red buff.
Much more satisfied by Beyond's jungle pathing in this game. We talked about how the red to blue, it's not great, especially for Graves. I mean, you don't necessarily need any kind of cooldown reduction, right? They were talking, Ellis was talking about yesterday, the reasons why pros do that kind of jungle pathing where they go red to blue and then full clear. And a lot of them mentioned they didn't want to get invaded, they wanted the extra cooldown reduction for the faster clear. But all that I feel like is not really necessary, especially for Graves. But he might be in a little bit of trouble here.
Yep, might have to flash, does so. As Fly also going to have to flash out of there as Kuzan was coming in. Rich moving on down here, and that's what happens when you have top pressure. Spirit's in trouble, and he is going to be taken down. And the coordination on the emote spam, absolutely beautiful. And the coordination of team dynamics, also very similar.
Rich having the priority from top lane. He's got a lot of mobility on the Lucian. He's going to get there first. The Graves is going to, he's not going to be the easiest target to just burst down with a level 3 Galio and level 3 Trundle, right? It's not like you're going to pop over the wall and pop him like a balloon. That's just not really going to happen against a double buff Graves. And it was on their side of the map too, so that was a very risky kind of forced play that Team Dynamics responded perfectly to. That's going to get them a really nice edge in this early game. Really got to hand it to them. Team Dynamics already off to a great start.
Yep, looking really good. Fly going to get stunned up here in the mid lane, but he's not too worried at the moment. This is not the kind of matchup that we were describing before. If it's Lucian mid versus Galio, then yes, that's a lot of pressure on the Galio. Karma doesn't offer a lot of that pressure, but now without his flash, it could be rough, as Fly did get that flash very, very fast taunt.
Yeah, it's like even if the Justice Punch hits and they are able to do a little bit of combo, they're not going to kill Graves. And Karma's right there. Okay, so he sees them, able to dash, and then Karma immediately gives him a shield. Like you're never killing this guy. It's not going to happen.
Yeah. No. And also he had all of his grit stacked up anyway. So he had a lot of extra tankiness. I think, yeah, it was just definitely opportunistic. And if you calculate the risk reward, I think that was only ever going to be like a 20% chance of success. But you lose so much by Spirit dying so early, losing his double buffs before he had any opportunity to use them.
Double scuttle goes the way of Beyond. He's going to get massively ahead on the Graves, which loves early kills. Spirit now is going to desperately try to make a gank work.
Whoa,
Rich just says, I'll flash away.
And also didn't have Relentless Pursuit. Of course, the cooldown very high at this stage of the game, and used it just to get out of the Death's Grasp. So very good timing on the gank from Spirit. Meanwhile, bottom side of the map, Guga not going to be taking too much damage. Thank you very much to Eclipse, but now Mystic does find the double stun. Doctum has been ignited. Ben in trouble. He has to flash away as Doctum's just standing his ground against Mystic here. Not going to fall down. Doctum also going to walk away as the teleports now come in from everyone. Rich grabs that first kill. The Obliterate goes down on top of him. Doctum desperately trying to come back into the fight, but he's not going to be able to. Flash forward as Keen puts him in the Death Realm, and obliterated is the Ezreal. Hit level 6 at exactly the right time there as Afreeca do find themselves the advantage.
Thankfully, Afreeca, they still have Keen because they needed a little bit of a bailout in the bottom side on a trade that nearly went wrong. And Keen was able to essentially outskill them to pick up that extra kill on the backside and shut down the Ezreal, as multiple teleports were used in that play to secure that kill, but I think it still is pretty worth for the side of Afreeca, as now we might have a gank here.
Yep, no flash available there, and the dredge line is going to land. Fantastic pillar from Spirit as well. Very dead is Kuzan.
Nice. We're able to turn that one around, as good roam timing from Ben is going to get him in position there to shut down the Karma with the flash that you mentioned. They do lose the first Drake once again, though, as Beyond is just really far ahead in the jungle here. Able to just go ahead, full farm out everything, and also pick up an objective for his team. And really, it is only the CS gap in mid and jungle that is keeping Dynamics ahead in the gold after Afreeca just had that nice play.
Yep, end of the line coming on in here as Beyond doesn't have his smite. So just going to help, I guess. Spirit clear out that camp. But yeah, I think that Keen getting a kill and an assist is actually huge because the Lucian, especially from top lane, really needs to get ahead. But let's have a look at how this went. It was very close in the 2v2.
Yeah, Peleos, pretty fun champ, able to get a double Varus ultimate there at level 4. But at the end of the day, actually, because they were just running straight into Ezreal Leona, they have a lot of single target damage and then didn't have Aftershock, so he was an easy kill. And then Duckdom and Cougar, they're out of the fight. They didn't need to get in there. They actually thought lingering around.
Yeah, they actually thought that the Mordekaiser wasn't going to have ult, but he hit level 6 as he killed Rich, which is why he was able to put the Ezreal into the death realm. So
yeah,
just great play from Keen. It's what we come to expect from this guy. And will he be able to effectively put Afreeca on his back is going to be the question. And I feel like it's just always the question with Afreeca. How strong is Keen's back today?
Exactly. It's really just up to what Keen can do as a player, as Dynamics are going to try to force this fight.
Yeah, and they force the flash out of Spirit very early. Subjugate not going to be nearly enough as Keen gets chunked by the True Shot Barrage. Ezreal's in the mid lane though, and Mystic's getting some free time here. And that's definitely going to be good news here for the Aphelios, as Afreeca certainly more happy to scale this time around. But you can see, Dynamics still pushing further and further ahead. As far as the gold is concerned, and it looks like Duckdom is going to be able to get back down to the bottom lane as we're spamming some emotes.
Kusan queued up instead of queuing the minions that were there just free for the taking. I'd love to see the collective's take on what, the 200 IQ reason why he may not have pushed it right there.
I have a feeling that the collective's take is probably just Keck W.
Yeah, it's a very good take.
Yeah.
I don't blame you if that's your take. But yeah, I think it was just a little bit of a mistake there. They exchange some emoticons. They're very good friends there in the mid lane, and then they back away. So shouldn't matter too much. We'll see how this game does continue from here. The mid and jungle are still massively ahead for Team Dynamics, and even though Keen did get that kill and assist, Rich up here with 2 kills of his own is not doing so bad for himself. Might get ganked here, though.
Might. Yep, he absolutely will get ganked as he's put into the death realm. Not a lot that Spirit can do here. Just try and back things up as now Rich is trying to win this 1v1 against Keen, but the W is still there, guys. He was always going to die, and Keen was always going to be fine.
Yeah, Keen easily able to solo them there, essentially, and then just to follow up to zone him up against the pillar and get that last couple of autos. So nice little play there. Really playing around Keen. I like it. Can't fault it if you're Afreeca. It is going to, as kind of a after effect, give a little bit of extra farm over to Beyond, which is not half bad. As Graves is going to be very nice if he can go probably Black Cleaver, I guess, against this many tanks and also a lot of auto attackers on his team that aren't going to be getting Black Cleaver. I think in this case, it's a good idea.
Yeah, I would like to see Umbral Glaive as well, because I think that being able to stay on top of the Vision game is going to be very important. One of the reasons why Graves can be very strong, even in a utility sense. But Shelly's going to spend some time here towards the bottom lane. Duckdom is going to do his darndest to avoid losing all of the plates on his turret, but not going to be enough there, as Mystic does get that third one. It's a lot of extra money going over to the Aphelios. I'd like to see that gold graph to see just how far ahead he is. Because yes, it's 5 CS, but 101 plus all those turret plates will mean that Mystic's in a very comfortable position moving into the mid-game. Keen still yet to find this first turret plate top side, but it should be, in theory, Rich having all of them in this matchup. It's just been very good by Spirit to play around Keen, make sure he has the best time. Speaking of which, let's check out this kill top.
예, 반피. 예, 프리스 반피요. 앞으로 10초. 나이스.
They were saying like
탑에 전령 깔아도 될 것
1 second.
Yep, and also, as you saw, his W was available that whole time, which is just a lot of shielding and then a lot of healing.
Mordekaiser, fun champion when you get ahead.
Yep. My favorite champion.
Yes.
In his earlier iterations, to be perfectly honest. But many of you will not actually know what that champion did because it was many years ago now.
We got the boomer cast here.
Yeah, 100%.
It's been a while.
I liked it when you could use Mace of Spades and it'd break off into 2 other things and hit people. That was fun.
Well, the Mordekaiser was used there just to secure Ocean Drake, and that actually did let a little bit of pressure up in the top side for Rich to take down a plate of his own, go back, finish that plate of the Rune King, as that is going to be a very effective item against the team that they're going up against. A lot of health stacking that could potentially come out of not only the Nautilus and Trundle, but even Mordekaiser and Galio, depending on the items that they build. We'll have to see what Ezreal's item path is going to be. I would expect, pretty standard for the first couple, but we'll see if he goes Death's Dance, or maybe he tries to go for something like Blade of the Rune King, or even Leandry's early on.
Yeah, I think
that LS has been talking about a lot.
Good old Leandry's Ezreal. Salesman does certainly need a bit of a mention. I think that, the classic Death's Dance third item with the Iceborne Gauntlet is still going to be very strong. But it's the 4th item that is going to be very interesting to find out. Docdome is going to utilize his Arcane Shift very well there as Spirit moves down towards the bottom side to add a bit more pressure. Spirit has been everywhere this game, by the way. Certainly utilizing this Trundle very, very well. True Shot Barrage will clear out the minion wave pretty well. As Dynamics retain their lead, but it is only by 100 gold now. As Kuzan once again into the nether goes the Q.
Yeah, the heal there from Fly. He wants to get his TP back with the Unsealed Spellbook.
Yep.
There's so much focus in the bottom side by Afreeca. They should be able to get this, although...
Yep, in goes Guga, looking for it. Solar Flare's good, and they just blow up Spirit instantly. Teleport's now coming through thick and fast as Ben down to about half health. There's the culling, soaked by Fly, but that's not what you want as Keen teleports in. Death Realm is going to be there, and immediately he puts Beyond in and tries to take him down. Will be sacrificed, though, as now Guga might be his second target, but the Inspire Shield's going to be too strong, and Keen will fall down. A lot of extra money now into the hands of Docdome as he gets 450 for that kill. As Mystic and Ben, they were just focusing on the minion wave more than anything else. As I think as the dust settles, certainly worked out very well for Dynamics off Guga's engage.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is a fight we're going to have to really pick apart the replay because there were so many teleports that came in, but just the bait there, okay.
That flash in onto Mystic. He cleanses, he flashes, tries to get out of there. Fantastic stopwatch from Ben to buy some time as Spirit moves on in. Oh, the Moonlight Vigil lands as Mystic looking for the activation, but doesn't quite get there. Spirit dives in. Guga goes golden, and Kuzan is going to zone Spirit out, and Inspire is one hell of an ability. And Guga, of course, is going to escape with what looked like half health in the end.
Yeah.
Like what?
I know, he is having a fun time down there. The stopwatch usage out of Guga was split second, but it was massive to keep him alive and get even another kill for Team Dynamics after that entire play. So lots of action down on the bottom side with so many teleports in this game. But it was the bait out of Team Dynamics and then the earlier teleport out of Rich to enable them to really take the foothold, the beginning of that fight, and then Afreeca were kind of just coming in one by one on their teleports or just in the lane, and they kind of got caught out. And even though Keen did trade one back, I mean, that's just kind of Mordekaiser things. So still definitely very big wins on the side here for Team Dynamics.
Oh, it's even bigger than that, Analyst, because look at the items that Docdome picks up. He had Sheen tier, and now he has 2 full items.
He gained a lot from that. There's no question.
My God, he's so strong now.
Yeah, I don't know what his score was before that fight, but it might have just been 0 and 1. Or
I think it was like
that.
0-1-1 or 0-1-2 or something.
Yeah. So absolutely stacking up the cash after that one.
Yeah. Keen's going to be able to clear out this minion wave very well. Mystic also takes down this turret bottom lane. That is going to be first of the game, which will get Afreeca back up to decent standing when it comes to the gold. But with the Rift Herald going down, surely will help Dynamics get more back. Kuzan trying to clear out a wave down here, but doesn't actually have the mantra, and will just lose an inner turret as well. So one of the first times we've seen Dynamics make a blunder macro-wise. Just underestimating Mystic's ability to rip apart a turret.
Yeah, it was a combination. I think Beyond was up with a Rift Herald, and so Afreeca said maybe we can get this. Nice pillar here, though.
Yeah, in goes Guga. 2 people hit by that True Shot barrage as we're trying to use that Shield of Daybreak to bring down Fly. Gets the flash out there as Kuzan moving on in. You can see the AoE coming through, and Doctum is very strong. They have to be careful. Fly continues to get zoned out. Remember, he does have the heroic entrance as Rich off to the side, gets dredge lined. We'll have to try and get out of there if there's no opportunity. As the ulti comes forward, and now Team Dynamics, I don't think they're going to have an opportunity to fight for this Infernal. It's going to be the second Drake going over to Afreeca. The first Infernal of the game. Afreeca just got a whole bunch stronger.
Yeah, generally you don't want to walk through wards directly into the Nautilus composition. That's a pretty big mistake by Rich. Probably thought that there wasn't any vision, but let's see how far we go back. Okay, we're going into this. Yeah, I mean, he sees he's hitting them, and then he runs straight into the Nautilus, and immediately that makes it 4v5. And it's pretty, you know, cut and dry from there. You know, Team Dynamics aren't going to force a 4v5. They're not that far ahead. And Afreeca knew that the Infernal was there, so immediately after that mistake, they're just able to scoop that one up, even though the fight did look pretty nice to start with for Team Dynamics. That Leona actually doing quite a nice amount of work, and their ability to chase down with Leona Karma is not to be underestimated, as we saw in that one.
Yep, pretty point and click when it comes to the CC. But see whether Dynamics can tidy it up just a little bit, because they are on the clock. Mystic is getting scary, and you can see he's got a lot of gold as well. Actually 1.2k ahead of Doctum, who did have a bounty on his head, still does in fact. Shirley's still available though, so Dynamics should be able to utilize her to knock down a turret. As Kuzan goes back to base, he's coming out with his Ardent Sensor completed. Dynamics don't really look like they have the same level of control that they had in the first game. It's looking a little bit like they're the ones to start the Flounder. Rich once again in dangerous territory, but does have some control wards to walk through. Double control ward to come down into this brush. As Afreeca, they want to fight. Taunt only lands onto Rich, who gets hit by the Moonlight Vigil as well, but in goes Guga looking for it. Oh my god! Death Realm put through immediately. Keen is looking to try and take him down. I don't know whether he's going to be able to get him in time, though, as Keen gets stunned, eventually finds the kill. And now Afreeca are trying to look for this fight. Beyond dives forward, looking in a little bit of trouble here, as that's the mantra to Inspire, as Doctor misses the Q, and Keen is going to be able to pull him back with that Death's Grasp. Surely an afterthought here, put down into the mid lane. Relatively low health bars, but Keen deceptively tanky.
What is that damage? What is going on? He didn't even hit the eye. He's like, just gonna 5-shot Shirley. Okay.
Yeah.
It's a nice amount of AoE he's able to do there with the bunched up minions.
Did you notice I was trying my best not to talk about Aphelios? Because I feel like as soon as I do that, I may as well stop talking.
I know, he's just
and Aphelios existed.
So gross right now in today's meta. Not sure why he's never banned, but starts off really good. And then the interesting thing that I even learned from this one is that Keen is so far ahead now that he's like, I dare any one of you to engage. You're going to die. I don't care who it is, if it's Cougar, if it's anyone else. Everybody else is less tanky. And then you can see they're able to just get out there after Cougar dies, as Keen punished him in the Death Realm, just netting himself another free kill is what it feels like, and allowing his team to scale even further. Keen's really far ahead. Aphelios, Mystic is really far ahead. They're just in an awesome spot here, especially after getting that last Infernal. And even after what looked like a great, you know, absorption of the Afreeca engage into re-engage from Team Dynamics, it still kind of fell flat just because of how fed the 2 carries on the side of Afreeca are. And I mean, it kind of does go back to the draft once again. I'm not sure why these Korean teams love the Ezreal into the Aphelios. It was just another lane that didn't go very well for the Ezreal. And once again, the Aphelios is just doing a million times more when it comes to the team fights. And we haven't even seen the full extent of it yet, because just wait for the late game. I mean, we're only 22 minutes in.
Yeah. And I mean, Ezreal is a very strong late game carry, right? And this is something that we've spoken about. But unfortunately, the amount of nuke potential out of an Aphelios is never something that an Ezreal can compete with.
Yeah.
Because the reason why he's so strong late game is because of the Iceborne Gauntlet in combination with Death's Dance. It's so hard to kill the Ezreal. But it's not actually if you're an Aphelios, because you just kill anyone.
Ezreal is also much harder to play, right? Just like straight up. We're watching Duckdom here in the mid lane, and he has missed like 5 Qs in a row.
Yeah.
6. Make it 6. Like, if your Ezreal is not hitting poke, what's
Barrage,
the
you hit
point?
that one.
Right?
That's a lot of damage. Culling comes down. Good Solar Flare is going to land on to Fly as once again Keen immediately puts Guga into the death realm, but this time he does have the Gargoyle Stone Plate. Keen diving on in, still trying to do what he can. Goes Golden. Guga still flashing out of the way as so far this is a great fight for Dynamics, and Doctam should be able to clean up. Mystic though, still alive. Always scary. But
Yeah.
not going to be able to go in now as the front line has been wiped out.
Yeah, pretty interesting there. I mean, that looked like a very similar fight to the last one that we just had on the left river brush, but that time around the damage was able to go onto the first target. I feel like Keen's ultimate was a little bit late, and also the damage concentration out of Team Dynamics was much better, and once they got that first pick, they do what their comp is great at, which is, you know, just shelling a huge amount of damage into one target. As well, nice strike.
And I think now we need to talk about LS, because in this particular moment, he would have been extraordinarily upset. Because the trade for Baron when Soul Point Infernal was available is a very weird decision to make. But let's have a look at this team fight first.
Yeah, it's Ben getting super low. He actually dies to Ignite. And Keen wasn't actually able to do the job. You actually pointed out that now Guga is much tankier than the last fight even though it was only about 2 minutes separation because of the stone plate that he was able to pick up, and there was a lot more room for him to run. So Keen wasn't able to get the job done. Also, Ben died early. They won the fight, and then they threw the Infernal Drake over to Afreeca, who scales better, loves the percentage damage extra they get from the Infernal, and I don't think they're really scared of a Baron push here. Like, what are they really going to lose? Maybe a couple of turrets, and then they're on Soul Point. This is even, I feel, more egregious than yesterday's play.
I actually thought yesterday's play had some merit. Like, there is a way to argue it, right? Because what DRX did was they got a 5,000 gold Baron power play and were then insurmountably
They got
ahead.
massively far ahead.
Yeah, but
This
I don't
game
know
is
whether
not the
this...
same.
Yeah.
And I think we're both on the same page here. I don't know if this is really going to be worth it for Team Dynamics this time around.
Rich doesn't have a QSS, actually, so it's a little bit more difficult for him to play in this lane up against Keen.
What's the name of the AoE gun? I always forget.
Infernum?
Infernum, okay. Because it looks like snowballs to me, so I'm like, there's no it can be Infernum, right? That's the opposite of cold snowballs, but I don't know.
Ooh, if Doctam actually hit that Q, Mystic may have had to go home. But hindsight's 20/20. Not going home this time.
Look at how difficult it is for Team Dynamics to force, with Baron, getting this one turret. They finally are able to pull it down as Duckdom is beginning to hit his skill shot.
Oh god, Fly has been found. Solar Flare is going to miss though. Gets a bit of a slow, but otherwise Fly is going to get out using the Blast Cone. Duckdom going to keep himself okay, and Relentless Pursuit's pretty good here for Rich. Infernal Drake up in 2.5 minutes, and due to Team Dynamics' own volition, they have opted in to always having to look at that timer and always be around that Drake pit.
Yeah. I mean, I understand the idea where it's like, well, you get further ahead in gold and in stats and in XP with the Baron, and then it'll make the fights easier around the Infernal Drake. But it's definitely risky because it can be stolen away, and you can, if you make one mistake, you might just lose the game.
Yeah.
So why not go for the safer play, which is to go for the Infernal, and then with the extra strength from the Infernal, you know, maybe take another team fight and then take the Baron. But the teams here are not going to follow that line of thinking, and we'll see if Team Dynamics can recreate how that last fight went, because I think if they stun one target and they just blow all of their damage, because they have an insane amount of burst damage with Ezreal, Graves, Lucian. Just the 3 of them, not to mention Karma nukes, as she's now got her 3 items really fast, as she does.
Yep.
That one target is going to get blown up, so if they can do that once again, it doesn't really matter who it is, even if it's Ben with his stone plate. I mean, maybe if he's got that full stone plate stack, it's going to be a little bit harder, but if they can do that, if they can isolate one target and burst him down, they can win a fight once again. But that Aphelios effect, still in effect. He didn't die. He's 2-0-1. He is very close to his Death's Dance as well.
Well, speaking of Death's Dance, Doctor just completes his. We've got Rich very close to collecting his one as well, and with 52 seconds, I would recommend Rich going back home, collecting that item, assuming that he can afford it, and then having a big power spike moving into the next fight, because Death's Dance is actually ridiculous when you have it in conjunction with shields, because you know that that staggered damage is coming in, so the shield becomes even more valuable, because that burst is far less likely to happen.
Yeah, it's great with effective healing. And we're going to take a look at the gold graph. That's what happens when you lose a team fight and then the Baron. So that's really...
Is it going to be enough, though? Because now is the opportunity for Afreeca to win the game, basically. In 14 seconds' time, that's going to be a really rough one. As Beyond immediately going to utilize his QSS that he's picked up, as now Ben looking for Doctor, gets the depth charge, doing a lot of work as Guga finds himself into the backline, but he's by himself, not actually able to start the fight. But look at the culling, just eating through Afreeca, and Beyond is frontlining as this Graves. He's punished for it, but he's able to quick draw out as, oh my god, 200 years of punishment. As he is able to take down Guga, and Rich has to be careful. Dredgeline's not going to find it, but Mystic does. That is so much damage as the teleport's now coming in. Dynamics trying to keep themselves okay, but Beyond is definitely dead. Dredgeline is going to secure it, as now Kuzan looking for an opportunity, but Fly goes into his Zhonya's, and now Keen gets in. Good night, sweet Kuzan, as Doctor finds himself without any teammates. Arcane shifts over the wall. Rich teleports back in as he had survived, but now it's Infernal Soul, and this Dynamics is something that you could have avoided.
This is why. I'm glad we get the perfect example, because even though Team Dynamics were so far ahead,
unless they just... Oh my god.
That was close.
That was pretty close,
That was
actually,
close.
yeah.
Now, even though they were so far ahead, they lose a very close team fight, even though they had all this extra gold, and now they might just lose the game because they're up against Infernal Soul. Now they're going to lose the next team fight so much harder that I'm not sure if they'll have a chance. As you can see, this team fight was just so close. You look at Guga frontlining, and Team Dynamics, I feel like the tanks on Afreeca did a great job of soaking up so much of this damage. I mean, you even see Fly going in there just as punching back. And then we're all reintroduced to Mr. 200 Years.
Oh my god.
You gotta call him Sir after this team fight. And, I mean, he's full health. He's gonna root you. He's gonna AoE your entire team. He is untouchable, basically, until Duckdom nearly assassinates him.
Yeah, I mean, if he had have done that, then that would have actually been team fight over. But unfortunately, they kept trying to do what they could to take down Mystic.
Full health again, by the way.
Yeah, Death's Dance is pretty good, as it turns out.
Just AoEs, the minion wave goes from 20% health to 100, as if he didn't need any more utility.
Well, Dredgeline not going to be able to find too much, as another Solar Flare is going to go into Narnia. As, yeah, damage dealt to champions, pretty Aphelios-centric, is it not?
Yeah, that's just 5 members of Team Dynamics trying to kite and damage tanks, and then they're all grouped up, and Aphelios presses 2 or 3 buttons, and all of a sudden your entire team is at lower than half health. It is pretty insane what that guy can do.
Yeah, Rich, unfortunately, not actually building a QSS. I actually think that QSS is pretty important in this game, and they have 3 already. Guga collecting his is really good because he's, in fact, the sole frontline for his team. So now Afreeca possibly going to get flanked here by a Lucian, as Dredgeline once again not going to find the mark. As Keith, yeah, he's just going to throw out a Death Realm and see whether he can kill Kuzan, who will have an Inspire Shield. Obliterate, not quite enough there, as Kuzan throws some damage back. The culling, once again going to be good, but once again, Mystic does do a lot of work. But they do have very low health bars. Beyond almost just gets 2 hit by this Aphelios as Ben's going to go down. Heroic entrance, not quite enough there as Doctom's going to grab him. Mystic, he's going to answer back, but is it going to be enough? The answer is no for now as Rich is off to the side. True Shot Barrage almost takes down Kane. Mystic going to gameplay them to death though, as you can see. Relentless Pursuit's going to have to get him out of there as, oh no, killed by the Death Stance. Not what you want. He tried to get the lifesteal onto those Raptors, but it wasn't enough. And this feels like a real uphill battle for Dynamics.
And you can see that their composition still has a little bit of a chance when it comes to kiting them down in these sustained team fights where Aphelios isn't just able to burst your entire team. They're pretty well spread out. Kuzan's able to survive. Guger does a great job of soaking all this damage. And then the fun begins for Team Dynamics. Everybody's separated. Nobody's taking that AoE damage. Mystic desperately gonna try to burst him down. He doesn't even get beyond there. And they're able to kite them out so nicely. Ben has to be careful about just mindlessly engaging from here. And if those 2 Qs hit from Duckdom plus the ultimate, this is why I was talking about how hard Ezreal is, because the entire team fight can be decided based on whether or not you're hitting 1 or 2 Qs.
Yeah. That's actually hard to watch.
If he hits them, I think that Team Dynamics might still even win.
That was an ace.
Infernals.
If he hit all of those Qs, that was an ace.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, he didn't. And so now, Infernal Soul not actually looking like it's doing a massive amount to swing these fights in the favor of Afreeca, but you best believe that it is adding a hell of a lot of stats to this team. And you may look and see Dynamics as ahead. You're talking about battle stats and the value that Afreeca has as far as damage. It's certainly going to be well and truly in their advantage. Kane now has a Thornmail. This is something that a lot of people have been calling for against multiple Death's Dance users. Certainly works out effectively.
Yeah. And this has turned into the battle of the 80 carries. Can Mystic get that follow-up and AoE down the entire enemy team? Or is Duckdom going to just chip you down with 2 or 3 Qs and essentially, you know, chip away at Aphelios? That's part of the reason why people like him against Aphelios, is that if Aphelios has nothing to lifesteal off of and you hit, you know, 2-3 Qs, you Arcane Shift forward, and all of a sudden Aphelios is at 20 HP, and then you start a fight, it can be a little bit difficult for the Aphelios comp to actually work. As Afreeca gonna just push in here into mid.
Yeah, we're still sieging an outer turret, by the way. It's pretty ridiculous at this stage of the game. 35 minutes in, the culling just used to soften up the members of Afreeca, while the Dynamics outer turret finally will fall down. And Elder Drake is looking like it's going to be the next target. All of the vision available here for Afreeca. They should be able to just move towards it and start a fight on their terms. It's Rich trying to keep Keen at bay. Dynamics thinking of potentially trading for a Baron. Don't know whether you ever want to do that, guys.
No, please don't.
Elder Drake is pretty good. Not an analyst like you, Valdanalist.
Oh.
I think Elder Drake is pretty good in comparison to the Baron.
Yeah, you are correct. I think that Team Dynamics have kind of messed up their positioning here, and they've gotten zoned to the left side. Now they're going to say, oh, we need this red buff before we start. But look at Keen. He's just going to solo it. And if they lose the Elder against Aphelios, I mean, you might as well just type out the GG right now.
That True Shot Barrage did not find Keen, who, like you say, is soloing out this Elder Drake. Dynamics are not going to be able to get here, just straight up. It's down to 4,000 health. Rich coming on in. Ben is in a little bit of trouble, as the rest of Dynamics will get here, so it's likely to be a 50-50. The culling flies in, but the Elder Drake is taken by Afreeca. Feels like it's all but over as the Aphelios is doing work, but it's 1-for-1 so far. Both supports are falling down. Rich trying to win this fight against Keen, but he's not going to be able to. Not a chance, is now Dynamics 3 versus 4. Infernal Soul and Elder Drake, both available. And if they can't win here, they shouldn't win ever.
Yeah, I mean, Team Dynamics, they were looking so clean in game number 1 and seemed to have a really good understanding of macro and stuff, but here in game 2, they have faltered a bit to the might that is Mr. 200 Years. As Ezreal has done a just disgusting amount of damage, and he will continue to, as this is really where he does shine. When he's chipping you down, when he's kiting you down, and just relentlessly pursuing you, if you will, as Lucian does. Ezreal has learned from his friend, and they are actually going to be able to stop the Baron here. And that Elder buff, you know, it's not the longest at this point in the game. Only a minute and 15 left on that one. So if we can just go super late game and DuckDom can single-handedly outplay 5 members, maybe Team Dynamics can win.
It's possible. He does have his Blade of the Ruin King now. We've got mortal reminders coming through for both Beyond and Rich, which might help with the amount of healing that Mystic is going to have available. He's got 6 items though, guys. Felios with 6 items is pretty dangerous. The Solar Flare is going to slow Keen down, but not going to get any stuns. As now, DuckDom, it's like you were talking about, able to pursue. But Afreeca still don't look like they're confident to start a fight straight up.
Yeah.
So it's all about second Elder Drake. Valdez?
Yeah.
That's what we need to get to.
It's all about third Elder Drake, actually. The way that this game is going. Are they going to make another attempt here onto the Baron, because Two-Shot Barrage is going to be up in a moment's notice? Not just yet, but he can easily charge that one up. And we're reaching full builds here.
Yeah, Mystic just going to be melee face tanking this Baron. His Control Ward goes into the pit. They know exactly what's going on. Ben off to the side is Keen, just booking it right into the members of Team Dynamics. He, of course, can do that. Is now Rich trying to soften him up. Another dredge line's going to land, this time onto Guga. Not exactly the target that they want, but he's still going down like he's made of butter. Now DuckDom in the Death Realm, I believe. No, he's not. It's in fact Keen moving on past him, trying to fight Beyond. As Ben is very, very low. Dredgeline not going to find the mark as Rich finds a fantastic culling off to the side, but Beyond is going to fall because Mystic does a hell of a lot of damage, but Dynamics still able to potentially get some work done here, but look, Mystic is still alive. And that is the one thing that you need to worry about, as Afreeca finally may have done it. They may have found the game-winning teamfight.
Oh boy, it comes down to this. Keen perfect zoning with that ultimate and gets in the front there with the Zhonya's, and then DuckDom, in a moment of desperation, thinks that he can stand up to Mr. Years, and it does not work out very well. Flashes the wall, immediately gets burst down and dies. And we'll have to wait and see if they can end it from here. There's very long death timers, but not gonna push it.
There's Barons to collect.
There's Elder number 2.
Yep. 2.5 minutes on that. Yeah, this game's going the distance. As Afreeca want to make sure that they're not going to throw this one away. And this Baron should definitely be taken down, especially with Severum in the hands of Mystic. Probably not going to take too much damage here. But Dynamics looking to see whether they can actually get over.
Oh.
Fly. Will be able to play Bodyguard. And True Shot for... Oh, man. That was almost scary. Didn't actually do anything in the end. So, Baron taken. They're going to have that in order to secure the next Elder Drake.
Now, watch Keen on the bottom. And I know there's a fight going on the top side. Keen baits Rich out of position and then ults Kuzan. And Rich is kind of like out of position here. Keen in the front line is able to zone them all out like this. So they all have to back away. And that's going to set up this front to back here for Mystic, who's going to move on forward, say hello.
Oh,
you can call me sir from now on.
Blind, by the way.
Yeah. Takes him out, and then the flash over the wall. You can't do that, okay? I don't care how close you are to killing Mystic, how close you are to killing Aphelios. You can't do that. You're Ezreal, okay? Don't flash the wall.
I mean, he just needed to hit him with an auto attack, actually.
Well, apparently not.
Yeah.
Or at least
very
maybe he
trolled
failed.
That vision there. That
and even if he
great.
does, it's like, okay, he's going to immediately die. And then Afreeca still win the fight. It's...
Yeah, no, it was a misplay, 100%.
Yeah. Got to keep your cool.
Yeah.
Up against Mr. 9-0-4 now. Oh, it's just disgusting. He's got 6 items too. I don't see.
Yeah, I don't see any shoes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't see a world where this Aphelios is going to lose. Rich, what is going on?
He's flashing. He's at least able to get out of there.
He got Ash arrowed there.
He did. As True Shot Barrage is going to help Try and take down these minions, but Baron buff is going to mean that it's a much more difficult task than that. Doctum wants to complete his Mercurial Scimitar for his final item. Not going to make him strong enough, guys, by the way. Compete with Mystic.
Yeah. The amount of sheer damage that Afreeca's composition can soak is unbelievable.
They
Even
can double
Mystic.
Thornmail.
Yeah, double Thornmail. They got so many Death's Dances. The culling does so much damage. Ezreal does so much damage. It doesn't seem to matter because they all just soak it all.
All right, Dynamics, this is your last chance to try and go for anything as Beyond trying to get into this pit. He's going to get towards it, but immediately the Graves falls down. Good night, everyone, as Afreeca melts the members of Dynamics. Could it be the quadra kill? Potentially, as Doctum's trying to kite this one out. It's a good arcane shift, but I'm sorry, my friend, it's just not going to be enough. As Keen says, no. That's going to be the ace, finally. Afreeca needed a couple of Elders, a Baron, Infernal Soul, all sorts of things in order to take down Dynamics, but in the end, it was pretty comfortable, as the Nexus will fall at 43 minutes, and we're going to a game number 3.
The incredibly powerful Mystery Ears there at the end. It's perfect because he gets them all into position and then just AoEs them down like it's nothing. I'm not giving my vote.
Yeah.
I'm not. I refuse.
I know.
I refuse.
I mean, I actually
I don't know
feel
who I
like
would give
Kane
it to.
might have played better. I don't know.
Yeah, it's Keen. I mean, ugh. I don't feel great after that one.
No, neither
To
do
be perfectly honest, Afreeca, like half the game was both teams sitting mid, and it was like, who's gonna outskill the other one? You know, can we let Ezreal kite us down potentially by fighting here right in the middle of the map, or are we gonna use split push ability and Galio, Grand Entrances, stuff like this? It wasn't the greatest game of League of Legends we ever saw, but we've learned one thing from these two games is I don't think Ezreal is better than Aphelios in the draft straight up. Like, even though Doctum showed many times he was close, I'm not really seeing it yet, Atlas.
No, and the stats certainly starting to stack up against good old Ezreal as well. What is he, 1-8 now?
It's 1-9.
1-9, right, because he was in game number 1 as well, and also lost that one. So
Aphelios is, let me take a quick gander,
Yeah.
7-4.
7-4.
So not as good as Trundle, who is, let me take a quick gander, 9-3.
Yeah, he's doing okay. Doing okay, good old Trundle. As, so Doctum actually did more damage than the Aphelios, but you have a look, like, Mystic was the entire team's damage, basically, apart from when Keen was able to get someone into a Death Realm. But honestly, this game just felt like an inevitability after the decision to go for a Baron instead of an Infernal Drake led to Dynamics having to face Soul Point, having Afreeca be able to dictate exactly how teamfights were going to be played out from that point on. And yeah, we saw that DRX made that decision yesterday and it worked, but it's about being able to keep up the snowball, and Dynamics just didn't. They weren't able to.
No, absolutely. I think if Doctum was a little bit better at Ezreal, we might have seen a different result, right? He was really fed too, but it was just not meant to be in that game too.
It wasn't, but let's see what happens in game number 3 after the break. We will be back to see who wins out of Dynamics and Afreeca.